So, Toby, what does this job look like on a day to day basis, the various departments within?
Oh, wow. Well, the job of LinkedIn outreach and automation is quite varied. We have lots of different roles in our company. We're a small team of just under 20. We have everyone from myself, the founder of the company that started it with my business partner, who run and oversee everything over the top, all the way down to the very entry point level of like marketing executives that do basically admin, marketing admin, really, to make sure that all the LinkedIn automation works how it should. And that's obviously there's a lot of detail in those job roles, but at the overview, that's and then there's everything in between that. We have account managers, we have technical managers, profile managers. In between that, and then we've got ops directors, salespeople, etc. So it creates lots of different roles inside the company to facilitate the growth that we've achieved.
And is it a stable career or does it depend on your abilities like every other profession does?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of opportunity to learn a lot in LinkedIn. There's a lot of stuff like we have really been in the LinkedIn space for about 7 or 8 years, and we're still learning now. And it's like most technologies and social medias, they're changing all the time. So you do have to stay at the forefront and you do have to continue to learn. And it's taken a real long time to be successful in the space, to be honest with you, because there's so many hard lessons you have to learn. Um, but fortunately, people that come to join us in the company obviously learn a lot quicker because we've got lots of people around that have been around for quite a long time now, and obviously we train people to avoid the mistakes that new people would make in this space. Um, I think it's a great space to get into. At the end of the day, it's the number one social media platform for business. And social media is such an important part of anyone's career nowadays, or any business. So we can't speak highly enough of being involved in LinkedIn and the power it gives you, the ability to reach people anywhere in the world, high level job contacts. You can literally start a business on your own with a computer and LinkedIn because you've got all those people. You got if you can add value to them, you can reach out, try and connect with them, and try and message them to do that. Just at the very pure base point of LinkedIn outreach. And obviously, what we do is we help clients scale that and do it consistently at volume. So there's lots of ends to the spectrum on that.
Okay. Okay. So today's episode, we've called it How Do You Get Into a Recession-Proof Career? And the point is, it's not just one role. There are so many things that need to be done. It's about companies that are looking for customers. So that will never stop, irrespective of how the market is. Any business that wants to survive needs to find new customers and keep increasing revenues. Our guest today, Toby, is Group CEO of the Lead Lab. He has spent a whole decade turning LinkedIn from a passive feed into an engine for business growth, as he says, and helping companies across regions. It also requires a deep understanding of how people are responding to media and how that change is happening to understand how you can grow your business. And that's really what I'll be talking about to Toby today and find out how this entire thing works. What is the basis? So, if you're looking at this as one career, no, there are several careers within this company. Okay, so let me bring Toby on.
Yeah.
So, would you say that's a fair characterization, or would you?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. There's lots of things that need to be done to a LinkedIn outreach company that wants to grow. So we have, as I mentioned earlier, operations directors, we have marketing executives, account managers, salespeople, profile managers, etc. So there's a lot of moving parts inside LinkedIn outreach. So lots of different ways to be involved.
So, how do you find your own customers?
How do we? You won't be shocked to know that 95% of our clients come from LinkedIn outreach, obviously, and we do it at huge scale. We have over 100 profiles generating us leads all day, every day, with inside LinkedIn's parameters, and we do it all over the world. We have clients in the US, Canada, the UAE, and in Europe as well. So it's really about continue to do that. We do also do webinars every 3 weeks to help people that might want to look to do LinkedIn outreach themselves. So it's a really good educational piece, whether they're a one-man band, like an MD looking to do some LinkedIn outreach themselves, or they're a marketing director that may look to do it themselves as well inside a bigger company. And what we tend to find is that we go and help people with nitbits and the common mistakes people make when doing LinkedIn outreach. And what we'll find sometimes is they'll say, look, this is actually too much work to do it right. We'd love you to do it. Or they take the bits they need and they just improve what they're doing already, depending on what resource they've got. And we're just big believers that if you give to people, it comes back to you. Like we've had people that don't necessarily use us after a free review, but they might come and use us a year later, or they might refer us to someone else. So
Right.
it's all about the mentality of giving and that coming back, because there is lots of moving parts to what we do and common mistakes people make, to be honest.
So can you, as an illustrative case for people to understand this better, talk
Mm,
about this from the time you sign up with a customer, or let's say you've got
mhm,
a customer on board. What
mm,
happens and how does each department then begin to work? And what is the
mm.
role that they play in order to get leads for the company?
Great. Great question. So once they sign the agreement and they pay to get commitment, they get an email. On that email, they've got an onboarding form which they fill out. We use a company called Value Case. It's really good for people to fill out documents and keep people updated on where we're at from an onboarding point of view. In that process, there's a few things. There's data building and data targeting. So you have to decide who you're going to target. We obviously take a bit of guidance from our clients based on what they think, but also will advise. Then we build those lists. So there's a person that strategically sits in the business and decides who they should target with holding the hand of the client, because some clients know exactly who they want to target and some don't. So you have a strategic person that does that. Then after that, once the strategy is done and the actual list description is built, we have someone that will go and pull the information and humanly cleanse it. So you've got the higher level data person that does the strategy side. Then you've got someone who's a marketing executive that will then physically go and pull the data from Sales Navigator. And then they will pull, once they've pulled that to a CSV file, they have to go for it manually and eliminate a load of wastage. A common mistake people make on Sales Navigator is they trust it too much at scale. If you want to do high volume outreach to people, Sales Navigator is advantageous for them to have more eyeballs and to have more people for you to send emails and messages to. Obviously, our clients want the exact right people. They don't want the CEO of their taxi company or CEO of their university or all that sort of stuff that you get, which isn't ideal. So, yeah, we humanly cleanse at least 30% of the data. So there's just two
Yeah.
roles. In addition to that, they have a link to our copywriter, someone who writes the messaging journey. So if you're a creative young person out there, and you've got any experience in maybe email content writing, or even you just want to get started, that's a really important role, because if the messaging journey isn't right, then obviously it's not going to work. And then after that, we've got a person that helps connect the profiles to our software with via pins and stuff like that. So we can either send a video for them to do it, or they get a link to our accounts person that will sit on a screen Teams with all of them and do it all with them, so they don't have to worry. And yeah, just a few roles there in getting started. They also have an account manager on that email, which will be involved in the whole process and oversees everything over the top. So as you can see, a new client coming in, they'll also be allocated a marketing executive that will be doing the day-to-day response management. So checking all the messages all the time. And then our goal as a company is that people only touch LinkedIn when they're interested. So that marketing executive will email our client and say, oh, there's a positive response here, come and deal with it, rather than them doom scrolling on LinkedIn, going through their inbox. I know, imagine doing that for 5, 10, 3, whatever profiles. It's nigh on impossible,
Crazy.
right? We take that all
Yeah,
off their hands. It's all done for them, and yeah, that's sort of the structure of our team that does that. The account manager will also have regular calls with the client every 2 weeks or whatever they want, just to review response rate, look at data sets, etc.
so there is finding the right audience. After that, the intent to buy. So maybe you found the right person. And then there is a question of reaching out and figuring out if that person is really interested or whether that is the right person. So,
Mhm.
is there a level of checks for all those things as well? Because I assume that since you're being so thorough about it, you would also begin to see how people respond when an email is sent to them, or even whether an email should be sent to them at all. Is there outreach just an email, or are there other forms that you look at?
So it's just LinkedIn messages we do. Everything is inside the LinkedIn platform, so they don't get emails
Okay,
from us. We used to do email as part of
okay,
our package a couple of years ago, and even before we started LinkedIn Outreach, when we were a telemarketing company 7 or 8 years ago, we spent the first 5 or 6 years building our business off mass email marketing that appeared to be personal in cold outreach. And there's something happened a couple of years ago with email outreach where the results just fell off the edge of a cliff. So
oh,
what we did was just put more of our client spend into LinkedIn automation, just because the results were better, and our retention's gone up
okay.
since then, just because of the allocation of a better CPA, basically.
What are
Sorry, what
the
was
toughest roles? Yeah, what are the toughest roles to fill?
toughest roles to fill? Um, a really good copywriter is difficult, because a lot of it is based on the experience. Like, you'll get copywriters that have done email outreach for 5 or 6 years, and that's great. But LinkedIn outreach, a 4 or 5 step campaign, 3 step, whatever it may be, is its own art form. To be honest with you, it is a social media platform. It is a chat platform. It's not the same as email, and the copy has to be written in such a way. You've got such a short amount of time. I mean, one of the reasons email is really dying a fine art is people don't even need to open emails now to see if it's of interest to them. They can almost tell they're being sold to
Right.
without opening them.
Yeah,
They know
straight
it's
away.
junk, they delete
Yeah,
it. Now, the beautiful thing about LinkedIn, once you get past the connection request, you we're all selfish human beings, right? So we want to read those first 2 lines of our inbox inside LinkedIn in case it's something for us, i.e., someone wanting to buy from us in short. And which gives you a very small window of opportunity to get their
right.
interest. Exactly. And you have to communicate in a way that looks human and looks genuine. This era of AI is great and it has loads of benefits, but people can spot it a mile off. So although this content is uh, been written for everyone as a mass piece of data, it's written in a way as it appears to be personal because it pulls certain information through. Um, but that's the key thing. It's almost like you want to look like someone's just quite tried to have a quick chat with you
Right.
about something. And to go back to your original question, that's why the copywriters are really valuable and hard to come by. Because once it's done and it works, the messaging journey keeps on going. Like, we have clients that wrote messaging journeys 3 years ago, but they get great results from it, so
Okay.
they just keep on doing it.
You know, it's quite unusual that you say that the copywriter is the one who's required, because the general buzz around AI is you don't require copywriters, you
Yeah,
don't require creative people anymore. And here
yeah,
you are telling me that that is exactly the
yeah.
role that you need.
We can disagree. We can disagree with that more, to be honest with you. On our webinar, actually, we do show a product called DeepSeek, which is like Grok, one of these AI things. And it's really good if you're a one-man band starting out and you don't know where to start to write a messaging journey for LinkedIn. So, like, we do advise that. We say, look, if you're looking to do this one-man band and you don't know where to start, you've got a mind block, use this. Upload your website, upload your presentation doc, and then really communicate what you're trying to achieve on it. It's a LinkedIn messaging journey. You want them to respond or you want them to look at me, whatever it is. And once they do that, use that as a starting point and then change it to more humanize it. The problem with AI is it takes an average of everything. That's what AI
Yes,
is. It works out a world and it gives someone an average. Now, an average doesn't
right.
necessarily work when it comes to marketing. Um, so, like, we understand the use case for some people. And what we advise is if you are blocked by what to do and how to do, use it as a starting point. get it to make you a 3 or 4 piece bit, and then pick through it and change it and make it you, make it real, make it authentic. Um, Obviously, we've been doing this for a long time, so we have someone that's been doing it for years and does it for all of our clients. But at the same time, when we're on our sort of giving value journey to people, whoever comes to our webinars, then that's something we do advise them to use it, because if you don't use it and you don't know where to start, then you're in no man's land and you can never do it. So
True.
it is a useful tool, but I think when you get to the highest level of it, it's not the best tool.
And it's interesting that you use the webinar as a way to let people know, because that is the one forum where people are willing, or they've come in to listen. In most
Mhm.
cases, people are just saying, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
tell me what your sales pitch is, and I'm done.
Mm.
Whereas in a webinar, they're willing to wait and explore and understand.
Yeah.
So, who is the hardest kind of client to work with? People who think they know?
Yeah, well, to go on the journey of messaging journey, you'll obviously get. We've worked with a lot of marketing companies that maybe don't have a LinkedIn marketing background, um,
Okay.
and they will challenge us on content and say, "Look, we want to write this 2 paragraph spiel about we've done this and we've done that," and they'll put it in their first message, and we're like, "No, no, no, don't do that." Like, from our point of view as well, Venue, as a company, we make our money on long-term relationships, because we're almost like a monthly subscription where they pay us monthly and it's a rolling contract and cancel whenever they like. So if we get the
Right.
messaging journey wrong, it's going to affect us in the long term as well. So we
True.
have to align with our clients as brands, but at the same time, we know what works and what doesn't work. So we will give true feedback. But yeah, sometimes people that are in marketing, but not in LinkedIn marketing, can be the most difficult, because their fundamentals are theirs and they try to transfer them to LinkedIn, and they don't necessarily transfer, unfortunately. Um, but then what we tend to do is,
True.
if that's the case and we do get to a heading point, we do split tests where we'll do our message journey against their message journey. We make a joke out of it, and say, look, after
Right.
3 weeks, we'll have a look at the numbers, and look, if yours right, because you also got to remember, we work from companies that sell drone shows to CRM systems to accountancy software. Like, we don't know every market. So although we're confident and we have a strong opinion, we are open all the time, because I think as soon as you think you know it all, you're on the hiding to nothing. So we will do that if a client does push and really has good reason for us to try what we would consider an alternative method. We will do it, but we'll split test it so that we don't have all our eggs in one basket, and we can make adjustments at a later date.
So, being very closely aligned with LinkedIn, you understand the rhythms of the platform a lot better. And you have seen email actually drop off. So, are you saying that email over the years is now less effective than it used to be? Because conventional wisdom is that you own email lists, so it works better for
Oh
you.
yeah. So sorry, forgive me. So I really speak from the world of cold outreach, like lead
Okay.
generation, cold outreach. Now, don't get me wrong. There's huge value in email lists that are yours with buy-in and stuff like that. But what I'm talking about is purely from a cold outreach point of view. That's what we do as a company.
Okay.
We build a list for our clients and we target them on LinkedIn as outreach to get them to positively respond. And similar, we've done on email for clients, and also for ourselves. Like, we literally spent 5 or 6 years building the business, and I'm talking 13, 14 years ago, 5 years on, doing that. So it was a huge part of our business back then. But for whatever reason, and it's only really in the last couple of years, the results of that have really fallen off. Um, it's been great for our business, because a lot of people that had built big marketing machines on email outreach, cold email outreach, suddenly we're not had been used to that lead flow for years, 4 years, 5 years. They've been getting that constant lead flow from mass, what appears to be personal email outreach. Then suddenly results just drop off the edge of a cliff. And then
Yeah.
what happens there is, obviously, people need to fill that lead flow. So it's been great for us over the last couple of years. We've really kicked on, because the amount of clients that have come over to us because they were like, they get outreach and they do it already, but then their platform, their channel, i.e. cold outreach on email, stop working to a certain extent. Hence they need the same sort of principle, but just a different channel.
And I come from the world of traditional media where it used to be a lot easier to get across to people on newspapers, and the whole thing was a slow process. You did
Mm.
contextual advertising, and then the whole aspect of building a lead took time. Now the scale is evident. You can reach a hell of a lot more people in the same week than you could in a whole month or 6 months in the earlier, what do you say, market.
Yeah,
But that
100%.
does not change the way some people work, because people still take time on making decisions. It's not as if they will, because the message reaches them faster, they're not going to decide faster.
No, no.
So, how do you figure out that perfect time, and how do you know that a customer is ready to commit?
So a lot of it comes from like there's a journey of what we would call like bite. So a bite of them saying, "This is interesting. Tell me more." Like that might turn into a client 6 months time. What our job to do as a company for our clients is just to get that bite. To be honest with you, get them to engage to the content with a buying signal. That buying signal might be, "Why should I use you over Microsoft?" Or "Why should I use how much are you?" Or
Okay.
whatever that question is. That is a buying signal. Is the point we take it to. At that point, we are experts in our client's software, in their client's service, product, whatever it may be. We aren't experts. At that point, they take it on the journey from there because they are experts and they can answer those questions or whatever. And that's just, we always use the analogy of like planting seeds. As a farmer, like the data is the data stage. We plant all the seeds. We send out the messaging journey, which is like a response, like a 5-step journey. The first connection request might be the first sprout of a leaf out the bottom, second message, third message, fourth message. And on the fourth message, the fourth leaf, a bit of fruit might grow, which would be the how much is it or why should I use you? Now, that fruit might not be, it might start growing, but it might be ready to pick for another 3 to 6 months. And that's the sort of start to finish journey. And all we take it to is the first sign of that fruit. That's when our client takes it over and picks it when it's relevant. And then from their point of view, to take the analogy even further, they're then going to obviously eat it at some point when it actually sells fully.
Okay, great. I'll just summarize the last 20 minutes and come back to you.
Yeah, great.
So, I'm talking to Toby about Group CEO of the Lead Lab. And he started off with this whole interesting thing of what happens right from the time a client signs up to the kind of work that happens within. So it's not just one career, it's careers for several people within the agency, because demand generation is not a one off thing. It has to work along several levels, and there are several skills which are deployed. One of the things that surprised me was he told me that the most in demand and hard to fill roles is that of a copywriter, because in today's world you would assume that copywriters just are available at every single nook and corner, but it's not that alone. There is a whole lot of work that needs to go on to make a message that is mass seem personal. And that challenge, like he said it beautifully, that AI tends to average things out, and marketing isn't about averages, at least about reaching out to people. So I think he countered at every point where I tried to tell him that things were slow, but he showed me exactly how. There is a whole process even within LinkedIn, or how do you manage outreach in order to convert people. He spoke of how webinars work better for people, for him, for the company, because that is one environment where people have come to learn more about it. In the next segment, I'll be talking to Toby about how he started off on his journey and what led him to this point. So, if you've liked what you've listened to so far, subscribe, share, and please do let people know. So, Toby, what was your journey into this like? Where did you start? What was your earlier career like?
Well, yeah, it's beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful journey, to be honest, and it's quite a simple eureka moment story we had where we spent the first 7 years of our business, and this would have been about 16, 17 years ago now, um, as a cold call telemarketing company. All the way
Okay.
up to COVID, we had about 40 staff across our B2B code calling and our B2C sister business code calling business. Um, Obviously, COVID sort of overnight stopped that. But before COVID hit, probably about a year so, we were doing manual LinkedIn outreach. So we had a team, an international team, that would sit and connect and message manually with a pre-written message, but do it manually, sort of all day, every day, with inside LinkedIn's parameters. Back then, they didn't really limit you as much as well. So one profile could do, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of connection requests, which was great. Now we had this sort of moment where we were getting all of our leads from LinkedIn, as well as email at that time. But suddenly we started to see the benefit of LinkedIn outreach over email, even back then before email fell off a cliff. So we sort of said, look, we're getting all these leads from LinkedIn and we're selling people telemarketing, and we don't even do telemarketing for ourselves, and we get it at cost. So it's like, hang on, like something's not right here. We don't believe in our product enough to use it ourselves at cost. So that was sort of a big moment for us. And I think what COVID did, our outsourced international team that manually did it back then 6-7 years ago, that wasn't really scalable to give to clients. It would have been a nightmare to manage. It was really difficult. It was just something we nichely created internally. Now, what COVID allowed us to do was really have a year of not really having a lot to do, to be honest with you, because no one was doing B2B business, etc. We lost loads of clients overnight, as I'm sure you can imagine, for an outsourced telemarketing company. But what it allowed us to do is to build the software for LinkedIn outreach automation, which we could then offer to our clients. And that's really where we changed the business dramatically. And we haven't looked back. Like, we still have some telemarketing in our business, but it's probably 5% of our business now. And 95% of our business is LinkedIn automation at scale. And that's with clients having 3 profiles with us, 5 profiles, 10 profiles. And we have some clients that have over 100 profiles, connecting and messaging, generating leads for them all day, every day, with inside LinkedIn's parameters. So we went on this whole journey basically to get to this point. And it was really just following the energy, following the opportunity in life. End of the day, marketing, like most things, it's adapt or die. And if we'd stayed with telemarketing in COVID, we probably wouldn't be here as a business anymore. Don't get me wrong, there's a space for it, but it's more about telemarketing nowadays is ringing up hot leads that existed. And back then, we were literally cold outreach. We were cold calling people, businesses predominantly. And that's a bit of a dying art now. I don't know if you've seen on iPhones now, but if you ring someone's iPhone, it literally screens it and says, tell me why you're calling, and I'm going to tell the person. So God forbid any of those B2B or B2C telemarketing companies out there, but it must be nigh on impossible to be cold calling anymore. Don't get me wrong, they get a lead from Facebook, they get a lead from LinkedIn, pick up the phone and dial, no problem. But the old school days of code calling are just, the CPA is not there anymore.
But what led you to start this company? What was your career like before? Immediately after?
Originally I started the company 15, 16 years ago. I was an employee. I was a telemarketer myself. I was an employee for a company called the FD Center, and they wanted more of me. And by definition, their business was an outsourced CFO and FD company, so they didn't want to have some big office. So I said, look, I'll start it. I'll recruit people, etc. We took it to about 5 telemarketers for them at their height, and then we started picking up other clients. We worked with clients like Nestle, Kenco, Dow Egberts, O2 Business, over a 6 or 7 year period. We worked with lots of small businesses as well, but those were the household names we worked with. I think our location in the UK allowed us to be really competitive on price from a cost per living point of view. I think telemarketing outsourced in London.
What was Nestle using telemarketing for, in the sense?
Yeah, so we used to get them into hotels, universities. They would have machines, like coffee machines. They'd have chocolate machines. So all the corporate side of things, basically. But not B2C. That was the B2B business, which is where we did most of our big stuff. And then O2 Business was the same. It would be broadband for companies, obviously under the O2 brand.
But very few people in telemarketing saw the writing on the wall. So, what made you different, Toby? What was
Um,
your thinking like that you
well, it's funny.
decided that there was another way out?
Even before a year before COVID, I actually sold out of our B2C sister business, which is something I
Okay,
created off the side of the Lead Lab. It was the Lead Lab was core B2B telemarketing, and I had a telemarketer who had a lot about him. He was a very good work rate. So I said, let's go and create this separate brand together. And we did that probably 5, 6 years before COVID hit. And just a year before COVID, I decided to sell out of that business because I felt I could see the writing was on the wall. It was going to get more and more challenging. Um, it was going to become a company that needed social media leads to really for it to work, and that wasn't really our skill set at the time. Our skill set was cold calling. That company actually is still doing really well. He's a good friend of mine, but again, their business had to change dramatically to survive because the days of just cold calling people in B2C have really disappeared. So he's had to pivot to keep that company going. And no different than us, really, in the same way. We went from B2B telemarketing and we pivoted to LinkedIn outreach just because clients used to pay us like $6,000 or $7,000, £4,000 or £5,000 a month for a full-time telemarketer. So you're already that much behind the eight ball for returns to the client. Which
right.
is obviously a challenge. Like now for clients, we can work with them for as little as £450 or $600 a month. So it's much harder, much easier, sorry, to retain clients at that price point, which I think is a real challenge, especially when, like you say, cold calling is just really falling off the edge of a cliff, really.
Okay. And when it comes to LinkedIn, your outreach that is currently there, what is the profile of clients that you get? Are they small companies, mid-sized companies, large companies? And are there specific industries that seem to benefit from using LinkedIn?
So we work with one man bands all the way up to companies. We have clients that turn over 50 million. Don't get me wrong, it's a small percentage of our companies that are most of our clients are 1 to 10 staff. Probably 30 or 40% is the majority in that space. Then after that, probably about 30% in the 10 to 100 or 200 staff. And then obviously we've got a small percentage of around 5% over that. So it does work in all spaces. It's just finding a price point and something that works for the current resource in house, like the amount of profiles you have access to. You can't just send messages from a LinkedIn. You can't just send loads of messages from LinkedIn profile. It's got to be multiple profiles is what facilitates the volume. So that's a really
Right.
important part of it. Yeah.
No, it's a tough business, like you said. It's while access has become easier, permission has got harder. And a consumer's ability to block off any potential pitch is literally rising by the day, because it's almost as if I know during uh, my day I'm going to get at least 3,000 to 4,000 messages beaming in at me. So
Impressive.
I actually get far better at tuning out what is not necessary or not what is immediately required.
Mm.
So as a business grows, do you think that that is one going to be one of the major challenges to manage?
I think for most clients it is. I think again, it just comes down to communicating quickly. Like if you're trying to contact someone, you need to communicate value really quickly because, like you say, people have got hundreds of messages coming through the door, and we all have pain points in our business, and we all have things that we want to improve and we want to get better. And if you can communicate the benefit to an individual in a sentence, then that's like a superpower, to be honest. And then obviously you combine that message journey with volume, and then you don't need loads and loads of response. You can get a 5% response rate, which might mean a 1% client rate, and then that could be worth 20, 30 grand a year to you. Sorry, a month to you, in some cases for some of our clients. So it's really difficult because there's lots of different ways to do it. The other thing you've got to remember with LinkedIn is you've got to get past the connection request stage. If you don't get past that, you're not
Yeah.
getting into their inbox, which is one of the things that tends to make a LinkedIn inbox not too bad because you have to have been given permission to be in there, basically. So once you do get that
Yes.
permission, the response rate and the engagement rate is obviously higher, which is obviously a huge difference between email, where there is no permission. The only problem with email is you've got junk, you got about 20 other inboxes you can go in rather than the one you want it to. So, managing that is really difficult. Like, I think from an email perspective, personally, I just delete stuff because I know I'm being sold to without opening the emails. And I know I spoke about this earlier, but the difference between LinkedIn is you don't know if someone wants you or you want them in that initial message on LinkedIn, because you've got no way of knowing, because they're the other side of the connection request wall. And there's a message. That message might be, "Hi Venue, can you set up a campaign for me for £2,000 a week?" You know, and so selfishly, we're going to read that first line, and I think that's what it all comes down to cut through the noise. Again, another thing that AI content writing realistically isn't going to be help you with properly.
That is going to be a real problem to counter because AI is supposed to be doing things which make your life easier. But
Mm,
I think the volume of messages, for example, even on LinkedIn, the number of posts and comments that are simply generated by AI
yeah,
has dropped organic reach like crazy.
I know. Yeah, it's shocking, isn't
So
it?
it's as if I don't get to see the people whose feed I used to normally see, even though I was very, very clear about the kind of people I wanted to hear from. It's almost as if those posts don't surface at all. And the other thing that the
Mm.
channel is optimizing for is how long are you, scrolling through your feed, and then they want to put everything they can during that time. So I think
The
there
other
are
thing you got
real
to
problems
remember
when
is they don't monetize. They don't monetize organic outreach. So from their point of
right,
view, they don't make money from people just seeing your
true,
posts. So like, it's
true,
counterproductive for them for you to make a post and it to go viral and you to get loads of leads off that, because you've basically totally generated revenue without cutting them in at all, which is why they don't link
take
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn
That's why they
anymore.
don't like what we
Yeah,
do. They don't like LinkedIn outreach either, because they've got to do it because that's the stuff that get people to use the platform, right? But then they want to sell you emails, they want to sell you ads. But the CPA on those two things is crazy high. Talking from personal experience, if that CPA was better in those two than LinkedIn outreach, as an agency, that's what I would sell. I would be selling emails and I would be selling ads, an ad retainer managing the ads for them. But the truth of the matter is, it's a much better CPA um, from outreach, from automated outreach. So it's just always playing the game between LinkedIn giving, but not giving too much, and trying to see the opportunities in what you can do. And the way around that is additional profiles, because one profile can only connect the message to so many people. To scale that, you need more profiles. Um, and that is one of the ways round, if you like, the CPA of getting better CPA than there is from in-mails and from ads. I've seen some crazy numbers. It doesn't it doesn't work particularly well.
okay. So most of your clients come from B2B businesses because
Yeah,
let's say if
common.
it's a consumer durable, then obviously it's a different kind of lead that they would be looking for. So you
Yeah.
are focused entirely on businesses.
Yeah, we do a bit of high net worth individual stuff. So we'll do like whiskey
Okay.
investment, wine investment, luxury travel. Um, Trying to think of some other examples, like sporting experiences. They're expensive, so our clients will target MDs based on the turnover of their business, because they know
Okay.
they might buy a ticket to the Formula One or they might invest in
Right.
whiskey. They're consumer products, but they're targeting high net worth individuals on LinkedIn, and we've got a few clients that do that. And it is it is a great way, because if an MD turns over, I'm making up numbers here, but 1 million or 5 million, he can probably buy £1,000 ticket to the Formula One, as an example. And if you want to sell them £100,000 investment, maybe if they turn over 20 million, then they might be the sort of person that invest 200 grand in whiskey for you. Again, different variables and different horses for courses.
Great. So I'm talking to Toby, and he had a very interesting take on how exactly the whole business works. And he took me through this whole thing of how he himself started off in telemarketing and then saw the writing on the wall and then decided that there were other things that he needed to pursue, which was where the lead lab started. And I think they were very clear in how they were orienting themselves towards the business and the platform, because LinkedIn again is very clear about business to business relationships, but getting through to people. And like he said, it's always a difficult job to understand exactly who will be interested in what you're doing. But at least
Mm.
from a psychological and revenue point of view, you will be able to figure out who your current customers are or your potential customers are, and then begin to build it from there. In the final segment, I'll be looking at what where is this business going? In a world where access is easy and blocking people off or blocking sales off is getting much easier. And he mentioned, of course, that iPhone now has this whole ability to screen callers without you taking the call at all. What is the next stage and where will we go from here? And anyone who's looking at a career in this, what do they need to be prepared for? So, where do you think this is going, Toby?
That is a great question. And look, I don't have a crystal ball. I think one thing I would say about this industry is you have to be prepared for change. Like we have had to adapt many times over the last 6 years where something's changed in the LinkedIn algorithm, where something's changed from a technical point of view. Obviously, our software, like if LinkedIn move a button, we've got to then change the coding to align with that button. It's just the most simplest of examples, but that principle goes from top to bottom in things inside our industry because LinkedIn is like God. It owns the LinkedIn world. It can change the color of the sky tomorrow
Right,
if it wants to, and you have to be prepared for that. So you do have to have like
right,
a strong open mind to change, because I think being in the technical space or social media space combined with technology, they're both two things that change constantly. So having an open mind
right.
and like change can be tough. Some people don't like change. I think you have to be prepared for it and have to be mentally and emotionally ready to deal with that change especially as a business owner. But I think anyone coming into the business, they might do something a certain way for a couple of years, and then the language changes, the process changes, and you've got to be open to that change. It's not like certain businesses where you can go and you know it's going to be the same thing forever, basically. But I enjoy that personally. I think that's what keeps it fresh. Like going to webinars, I go to a lot of webinars myself to constantly be learning. I've got one on a webinar of LinkedIn this afternoon, again, just to keep up with updates. Other automation softwares, I go on theirs um, to see how people are using technology. And like you say, AI stuff is changing all the time. One thing I do know is that LinkedIn definitely see AI as the enemy from a messaging point of view. Like their platform has a huge problem if people's individual profiles start communicating as AI. I know they have the ability to tell if someone is talking as AI, and they will ban accounts quickly because you can imagine from them as a profile, their credibility. As soon as people go on LinkedIn and they think that, oh God, they're just talking to a bot instead of Toby,
Yeah,
the whole thing falls down. There's no reason to go back on there.
yeah,
You might as well go on someone's website and go to their chat thing. So I know this
true.
because I've experienced it myself. We have used AI conversations inside profiles, and we've seen LinkedIn have the ability to pick up on that. Um, the value is obviously speed of response, so you don't have to wait for someone manually to come back. The D value is it is AI, and LinkedIn aren't going to like it and they're going to stop it because I think they know obviously automation goes on. There's huge companies all over the world. We're a tiny company in comparison that do LinkedIn automation like Duck Soup, people like that. Um, so they're very aware of it. They obviously don't love it for obvious reasons, but they're very aware of it. Now, AI communicating as an individual on LinkedIn is something they are aware of coming in and they won't have. they're not going to accept it. So anyone who starts to sell or tell people they're going to connect an AI bot to their own LinkedIn profile, one, I'd be mortified and scared that someone was representing me like that.
Yeah.
And two, I'd be very worried about my profile getting taken away from me because it's just not something they're going to understand. They're going to allow happen. Like they obviously allow LinkedIn automation to happen, but they will not allow AI stuff. And I've seen accounts get banned really quickly from personal experience that we've tried to plug in AI stuff to.
And I think these companies are stuck between a rock and a hard place because Facebook, for example, is inundated with all kinds of posts which are obviously created by AI.
Mm.
And it's almost as if it's bots talking to bots. There are no people at all on the platform.
No.
So you wonder where this thing is going because it doesn't seem to be a logical kind of progression. It's almost as if I'll make it very easy for you to create content.
I think we're
But
almost like we're as I mean, I can only speak for us as a company, but like we're sort of going back the other way. Like we're almost like
okay,
feel like we're going in reverse away from AI now. Like this whole last 2 years, I've been a crazy AI buzz, and we've tried loads of different things. We've tried AI calling, we've tried obviously AI connected to profiles, communicating as the profile. We've seen the issues those cause. Um, Now, from a client perspective, we have human copywriter. Like it's almost become a selling point that you've got a human account manager. You're not going to speak to an AI app. You're going to speak to a human copywriter who's going to write your messaging journey. You've got a human marketing exec. The challenges with that is making them affordable because obviously human resource is expensive. So that's why we have an office in South Africa with about 15 staff in it, making all this stuff possible. People are still getting human service, um, and I think that's where I see it going. I see it turning back to a certain extent. I think there's a lot over the last couple of years that have been hype. And don't be wrong, we use AI in our business. There's loads of excellent use cases for it, but I don't think it's where a lot of people project it to be. Um, and I think I would reassess in 3 or 4 years and see where AI is at then, because right now that's how I feel about it. But I think again, with technology changing in 2 or 3 years, it's really hard to tell where it's going because
true,
it's hard to tell what the
very true.
technology is going to do. Is the true answer, Menu? Yeah. So at the minute,
So how do you
we
make
are
your
reversing back
sorry,
to.
sorry, please finish. Huh.
Go ahead. No, we're reversing back to
No, so,
just making sure that all of our client experience is humanly managed as opposed to AI.
true, great. So, how do you manage your hiring process? What are the kind of questions you ask, and what are the qualifications you're looking for in the people you recruit?
Well, to be honest with you, in South African team, we tend to recruit from within. So we take people for the lower level job roles, and then we promote from within who shows the commitment, etc. Um, don't get me wrong, for copywriters, we've obviously got to get a niche role, but for account managers, they almost need to have worked their way from the bottom of marketing exec to account manager because most people coming into our business, they've never done LinkedIn automation before. They don't understand
Right.
software and how it works. So the fact that they've started as a marketing executive, done a lot of the lower level admin of the role to make sure everything works properly. We then, when we're recruiting them for those roles, we're also recruiting them with one eye on them being an account manager in a year or two. So can they communicate well? Are they quick at learning things? Are they good at solving problems? Is their admin good? Okay, great. They can do a marketing executive role now, but with time, we can see them being an account manager because they have the base skills. Once they have the knowledge, they'll be able to go and do a higher level role with us. And then after that, they might become a senior account manager where they oversee account managers. And then we have a country lead there as well. And in the UK, we have much less staff now, so it's much more niche jobs in the UK, where I'll be like our copywriters in the UK, our accounts connecting person is in the UK. They're quite niche roles, and I think a lot of it is like trained because it's not like there's loads of companies do LinkedIn automation with service like we do. There's lots of companies that sell software, but LinkedIn automation with service is semi-unique. So you're looking for transferable skills a lot of the time because you're not going to get someone out there that's got loads of experience in doing exactly what we do.
That I think is the other part. When you take them on, you have to fit them into admin roles. You're paying them, but you're not getting the same benefits. A person really begins to, exhibit
Mm.
those characteristics and understand that over time. So there's
Mm.
always that investment required in people. But what would you advise people to learn and do in college so that they can be better prepared?
Great question. Education, yeah. I mean, education's a great debate, right? I think, if it's marketing, a marketing degree has huge value. Don't get me wrong. I think someone can learn a lot of tangible skills from going in to the right company that's not crazy big. Like we're, a relatively small company, so you can learn a lot in those companies, which you might not learn in a degree or have value, and you can be a more valuable individual to be recruited after 3 years working in a small business in the marketing space than you can in a company. But I think a lot of it is about what you're trying to achieve. And there's certain
Right.
journeys that people want to go on where you've got to go and get that degree. It's just part of the journey, unfortunately. And that's the nuance to the question you're asking. You know,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
people that want to do certain things, they need to do certain things in
Right.
education, right? So it, yeah, I think personally, again, this is just a personal opinion. I am not educated to university level. I wish I had, but only just for the experience, not from a business perspective. I've gone on and created businesses off my own back and my own learning and etc. But my brother is another example. Has just come out of uni a couple of years ago and actually finds it really hard to get an entry level job. Um, because there's a lot of people going for the sort of jobs he wants with, the same degree, basically. So, I'm very careful and cautious when talking about education because I think everyone is different. And there's these people out there that say, university's rubbish, don't bother going. And there's some people that say, you've got to go to university, you've got to go to college. And I don't think there is a right answer for either. I know extremely successful people that dropped out of school early, and I know people that are extremely successful that got a master's degree. So it's just about the individual and what they're trying to achieve. Um, learn. I think if you are going to go into an employment role to learn, if after a year or two you feel like you've learned everything, move into a new role where you're going to go and learn more because you're going to become more valuable the more knowledge you have in your experience. Um, and again, just matching the degrees to the career you want to go into. Obviously, a marketing degree, is the best bet if that's what you're looking to get into.
What you said in the beginning, I've always felt that the basic skills of reading, writing, and communicating and being able to
Mm.
build a network is never going to go away.
No.
It's not, if you can actually have a conversation and not feel awkward about it with people you don't know, and don't worry about the fact that you will make mistakes. There
Mm.
will be pauses, there will be awkward situations, but learning to get over that, I think, is technology has created this huge bubble. And I
Mm.
remember talking to a couple of young people about doing this podcast, and one of their questions was, you mean you talk to people you hardly know for a whole hour? How do you manage to conduct conversation?
Well, yeah, well, it's a really good point. And I think, especially the younger generation you go now, they're used to communicating through social. Like when they hang out with each other, they're sat on their phones. They're not even talking to each other when they're together, let alone, let alone when they're not together. So I
Exactly.
totally get that. I think one course that's massively undervalued in education is drama. I did drama in school, and I did it at
Okay.
college.
Wow. That's
And
a great point.
yeah,
Yeah.
it must be under because people look at it as a career path. Oh, I'm going to go and be an actor or whatever, and that's great for people that want to go and do that. But if you're a confident, outgoing person, one, it's going to enrich that and improve your ability to communicate, just like you're talking about. But also, if you're not, that's going to be a huge hindrance on you if you're not that person, especially if you're going to go into sales, marketing, or running a business. Um,
Right.
so taking that skill set, if you're someone that naturally doesn't have that, force yourself to do it. Because imagine you're a crazy academic and you're smart at everything, all the stuff, all the general stuff, maths, English, you're great at it all. But actually, you're not a great communicator when it comes to one to one. Do drama, because you can drop one of those academic classes, you're still going to be good at it anyway. But you obviously have a
Yeah.
weakness in communication, and drama is a great tool for that. I'm at the time I did it because it was, oh, maybe I want to do this when I'm older. But I look back and I think there's huge value in it for people, because it does sit in its own category, where others technically from a skill set don't necessarily do. I mean, I know maths and English is all totally different, and you can be a great mathematician and not be able to spell a word, but tend to be academics or academics, right? And then the the drama side of things is less academic. It's more of a personal skill set thing.
It's a very original thought, Toby, and I'll hold that because I think that's a very important thing to do. And I know it from personal experience. My sons got into drama. And the
Mm.
other thing that I realized was that when you're on stage, you learn to project and get attention even when you're not the main character.
Yeah,
You
so
so you
true.
don't have to be the guy taking the whole thing forward or
Mm,
the woman who's the point of interest. You learn how to get people, and it's very hard to describe how that happens
hmm.
because you have to go through it yourself.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Because when you're on stage, you're trying to figure out, okay, why would someone look at me? It's there,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you learn to do certain things, and you notice that there are very small roles which are available which may not even be a speaking part.
Mm,
I'm dwelling on this because I think what you raised is an amazingly important point, where if you are not naturally gifted with conversation,
mm.
then get into drama. That's a lovely
Yeah,
solution.
you're talking about skills to use, and especially in the social media industry, people
Yeah,
are, they're talking to their phones. I don't know how they do that, to be honest with you. Fair play to them that they can do that. I would much rather sit there and have a conversation with you, than talk to my
yeah.
phone, and then post the video of it. But again, it all comes down to confidence and experience and getting yourself out of your comfort zone. And like you say, if you're an academic and you're comfortable in all the academic spaces, get yourself in drama because it'll just make you a more rounded individual, and able to stand out in a crowd more.
And some of these are very simple. I remember talking to another lady who was extremely good at sales, SaaS,
Yeah.
software SaaS sales, and she was saying that her problem was she wouldn't stop, she wouldn't allow the client to talk. And her boss at one point told her, the point is not for you to talk, it's for the client to talk. And then she said, I had such a problem that ultimately I used to mute myself so that I'll talk, but the client won't listen.
Well, it's so funny. I've had in my younger days before I started the company when I was a salesman myself,
Uh,
I had the similar experience of people educating me as a salesman. All these salespeople that come in, they're naturally, gifted the gab and all that. It's great.
yeah.
You also need to listen. Is one of the key things. They
Yes.
would like say speak, and then he would literally say put your hand over your mouth because they'll sell back to you. And if you're talking all the time, it just becomes a monologue, right? So yeah, it's so funny that you've had that because I've had that same experience being trained to me as a young salesperson myself.
Yeah. So you have some people who can speak a lot, some people who can't speak at all, some people who can read, and all of us will have different characteristics. I don't think that there is one which is responsible for success, but being able to adapt, I think, is a very important part of whatever it is. So um, I suppose that's one place where we can end that you need to have the same basic skills. Don't assume that tech skills alone are going to get you past anything because the point about reading, writing, interacting with people, building a network, adapting is actually going to be one of the biggest uh, things that you have to master over the future. What
So
would
true.
you like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more on that point. I mean, I won't speak any more on it, but I think, and that's a two-way street as well, because if you are super extroverted, and you want to do PE and you want to do drama and say, look, you're already great at all those things. You're already going to benefit from them. If you're just looking to be a
Right.
more rounded individual, take that extra maths lesson, take that extra English lesson. Um, don't get me wrong, like if you want to be a sportsman or if you want to be an actor, then obviously you need to do those things. But if like me, you're someone that just chose them because they sort of suited your personality, and they were fun or whatever, I think for people that are trying to be more rounded individuals for their careers, get more stuff in your career and your education plan that is out of your comfort zone. Now, don't get me wrong, there's huge value in doubling down on what you're great at. But again, especially if you're going to be a business owner, you need to be well rounded. If that's something one of your end goals, but also if you're looking to be employed, being well rounded is one of the most important things when people look to employ. They don't want you to be too extroverted. They don't want you to be too introverted. They don't want you to be too academic. They want balance because they want you to be able to tick lots of boxes. And I think planning around the things you're uncomfortable with in your education is a key way of doing that.
Thank you very much for the time you've spent today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I think I got some amazing insights on how you run a very competitive business, even though it is recession proof. Yes, you will get business, but there are things that you need to do in order to ensure that you survive and thrive. Thank you.
People are always going to need leads. Feel free. People can check out our webinar every 3 weeks on our website. You can book and join that if anyone's interested to find out more. And I can give Venue a link. We do a free LinkedIn review 1-to-1 of your LinkedIn profile or your company's LinkedIn profiles. And I'll send them to Venue. You can put them in the thing if people are looking for some free advice.
Great. Thank you, Toby.
Pleasure.